Welcome to today's video. In the last few months, the UK government has been announcing that we could be suffering from blackouts. Now, this country is not one for talking about the dark ages in our society, and it would be a shame if we have to go down that route. But having spent time investigating this further, we have found how this could affect you, who it's going to affect, and what we have to look out for. So during this video we will present our screen and a document that's widely available on the UK government website, and a link to that document in the description below. This will help you work out to what level power cuts could happen to your home and what time of day it could happen, and so that you can plan for this. And just to add to this, you will have to consider that we're not used to having power cuts. Now, given that we are using more and more technology in our homes, we need to be aware of how power cuts affects our devices. Now, it's fine if you have a laptop because it will run off a battery, unless your battery isn't sufficient or you don't use it and have to use it on a charger. But we have desktop computers. More and more people are moving towards laptops and tablets, but for those of you with desktop computers, you have to also consider that if we're going to have a power cut, then you can't just carry out certain tasks. If you're doing software updates, if you're updating the hardware, for example a BIOS update, the last thing you need is a power cut, because that bit of equipment will become bricked, which means that it will no longer work unless there is a backup BIOS built into it or it has a recovery system. So if you're not careful, it could increase the number of warranty cases with hardware manufacturers. And if you're very unlucky, you might not get your device covered by warranty. Which, if you plan in advance, you know when to carry out these tasks and when not to. And even you could utilize backup power, which you can put your most precious bit of equipment into so that it doesn't get damaged in these events. Today we are going to talk about energy rationing, or as some people would call it, electricity power cuts, or electric cuts, or lack of electricity. Now, this is quite unheard of in Western nations, and this will become a bigger issue unless you know how to prepare for it. So in today's video we're going to talk about what you need to know, how to prepare for it, and who this affects. So in reverse order, who does this affect? Well, in the UK this affects virtually everyone, unless you're running a hospital or you're government services like the police, the firefighters, etc. Now, we don't know who it doesn't affect, so for that reason we have to presume every household. Now, I don't want to say who is exempt, otherwise it would be unfair for us to say you're exempt, you're exempt, you're exempt, when that's not my choice. That's down to the government and the electricity provider. So next point is, how do we prepare for this? Now, the government have a document called the Electricity Supply Emergency Code, ESEC for short, which you can see on the screen right now. This document was released in 2019, so it's public information, and we will put a link to the document in the description below for you to see in your own time and take your time to go over this document. And this will help you know when you will be affected. Now, it would be lovely if the government just turned off the electricity for all of us when we're either asleep or at work, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So if we had a choice, I would have ticked 12 till 6 in the morning or when I'm at work. But as this document shows, we don't, it's not as simple as that. So just bear with me while I go through this document, because it is not the most simplest of documents to follow. And it's 36 pages, so we're just going to skip to the sections that are most relevant. As you can see, it says 2019, so it was written a few years ago, and the government are using this as a guide. Now it could change, but we have to use what is on the government website as a guide. So there's a bunch of waffle here. I'm sure legal experts wouldn't like me calling it waffle, but for the non-legal experts, let's just get through this document in as quick as time as possible without having to bore you to death. So let's just get past the legal stuff here. Likewise, all of this. And what you'll find shortly is a table with useful information. Now, this page here is very useful to know. Now, there's a bunch of letters and a bunch of numbers and a bunch of times. So, as you can see here, we've got the days of the week, and we've got times blocked out in 3-hour chunks. So 12:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the morning. And if you go to the end, 9:30 in the evening to 12:30 the following day. So as it goes from Monday to Tuesday. Now 24 divided by 8 is 3, so that's where we get the 3-hour chunks. Now this bit gets a bit more interesting. So from our understanding, this is separated into weeks, so 18 weeks. Now this may be wrong, so please do correct me below. However, let's just keep this as simple as possible to keep this guide useful to the masses. Now, you can see a bunch of letters in week 1, Monday, and time slots. Now, the letters are relevant to your energy bill. Now, on your energy bill, you will see a square and a letter. So I want to I'm going to show you a random letter. So let's just say J for Juliet, and where if you're in a household with the letter J on your bill, when you are affected. So just looking at the Mondays in this example, you would see that on the second Monday you would have a power cut at 9:30 at night for 3 hours until 12:30 the following day. So you have no power cuts in week 1, Monday, just Monday, but you do in week 2 on the Monday. And if we just base a month on 4 weeks to keep it very simple, so let's just say February, as that's a 4-week month, then week 3 no power cuts on the Monday, and then week 4 J for Juliet here, 12:30 to 3:30. And if we just have a quick look on Tuesday, just to give you an example, you've got 9:30 till 12:30. So that will be on the Tuesday. So where you're not affected on Monday, you are affected on Tuesday. And then week 2, you're affected again. So in this circumstance, you on the Monday you would have had a power cut 9:30 at night with power back on at 12:30. But then the following day, after 3 hours, you've got another power cut for another 3 hours. And then if we go to week 3, you can see 3:30 to 6:30, and week 4 no power cuts. So sometimes you'll see your letter come a few times, and sometimes you won't see it come up at all. Now if I just quickly skip over Wednesday, week 1 Wednesday, yes. Week 2 Wednesday, yes. Week 3 Wednesday, yes. Week 4 Wednesday, no. Week 5 on the Thursday, no, no, yes, no. And then on the Fridays, week 1, no, 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 no. So where it looks like you are unlucky at the beginning, in a few days, you're in a better situation later. And then the Saturday, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. And then on the 4th Saturday at 9:30, you're scheduled for a power cut. And then to finish off, on the Sunday, nothing on the first Sunday. On the second Sunday, 6:30 to 9:30. On the third Sunday, nothing. And on the 4th Sunday, at 9:30 till 12:30 at midnight, being Monday morning, you would have had a power cut. Now, I'm just going to skip down to the next page, and what you'll find is, if I just zoom this document a bit in slightly, where this is landscape, you can see this document here talks about level 1 disconnection. And in level 1, you have 3 hours of power cuts. So where we pick J, for example, this would be a typical 3-hour power cut. But the confusing thing about this one is this doesn't necessarily resemble this. So there needs to be a bit more consistency between these pages and these pages. So even though we've had a look at this, it's debatable. Are we looking at this table here, or are we looking at this table here? And then what you'll find is there's 18 levels of disconnection. So those levels could be related to this. So if we are basing this on disconnection levels, if we are basing this as disconnection levels, then this is going to be the same rotor week in, week out. And if that's the case, in our example, then Monday no power cut, Tuesday power cut at 9:30, Wednesday a power cut at 12:30, Thursday nothing, Friday nothing, Saturday nothing, and Sunday nothing. So if that's what this table represents, then in our example with J, that's what this would mean. So hopefully this is how it's been discussed. But even with looking at this documentation, it does get a bit confusing. And we're not going to hide the fact that it gets confusing. So then here we've got level 2 disconnection, and you'll see there's a few more times when there's going to be power cuts. And then I'm not going to go stage by stage because we'll put a link to documentation. But as you can see, it becomes more and more common of how the disconnections work. And then it's about halfway. There's 18 levels, so this is where it becomes 50-50, meaning for every 12 hours you have power, 12 hours you don't. And then it gets worse and worse. So now it gets to a stage you have less power during the entire day than you will have any power. So to rephrase that, you would have more power cuts than you would have power. And if we keep scrolling down, you'll see what I mean in the latter stages. So level 18, no power. So I'd hope we wouldn't go back to the dark ages, mind the pun, compared to level 17 where we'd have, for example, 9 hours in a week where you have power. Nobody would want that. So that's as complicated as the document gets. So to summarize, we can see that this document could mean one of two things. Now, if we're correct and it's the later meaning, then this table represents the times when power cuts are going to happen. And as you can see here, level 1, each period is normal 3 hours. And it's this It's issued by the NGESO. Now, what you need to know is, are you exempt from these power cuts? As far as we're concerned, unless you're a government organisation, don't think that you are exempt. Be prepared as being affected. So if you're in a scenario that you need life supporting equipment on all the time, I would not panic at this stage. I would get in touch with the energy provider and see how you will be affected. Now, for those that aren't in that circumstance and just don't want to lose power, so I think about us parents with children, and you can just see it now. You mix up the days that we're going to have a power cut today, but we don't, so the child's happy. But then you've mixed up another day, and they're the ones that aren't able to play online because their console's gone off or their internet's gone off, they can't use the television, so they could use their tablet devices or mobile, but if they're reliant on wireless connections, then and that router gets switched off, then you're going to be affected. At the end of the day, if you've got electric heating in the house, you're going to be affected. If you've got IT equipment, you're going to be affected. If you've got desktop computers, you're going to be affected. Laptops will run, but then they will run out of charge at one stage. So you need to be prepared to look after your IT equipment. You need to make sure that you shut down before these power cuts happen, because somebody's not going to walk around and say you've got 10 seconds left, shut down. It's just going to be an instant off, and there's no guarantee it's going to happen perfectly to the second. So I would be prepared to turn off your devices 5 minutes beforehand and hope that it is back on when stated. Likewise, we would urge you to have contact details of your utility provider so that you can get in touch with them if the power isn't back on. But please be aware that their phone lines are going to be very busy, and often you'll find that they probably won't pick up in the late evenings or early mornings, so this will make it a bit worse. So busy phone lines, out of hour support may be limited, so make sure you speak to them early if you need emergency support, and if you don't need emergency support, try and free up the phone lines for people that do need emergency support. Just remember, it's like getting on a bus and you see somebody in more need for the seat you're on. Just give way. It makes sense to give way. So do what you can to help ease the situation for others. Yes, we are all affected, but there are people worse off than you and myself. And if you think of it that way, just remember there are times where we can get by without electricity. Somebody will say, that's easy for me to say, I'm in the tech industry, but you have to also think, even we were used to not having computers when we were young, so there are times where we can go old school and pass the time without these devices. So do what you can with that. And on a final note, how does it affect you if you work from home? So the energy companies don't know that you work from home, so you have to be prepared of what is your backup plan. Do you have a disaster recovery plan? How can you work if you don't have electricity? Do you have enough power for your laptop? Do you have mobile internet that you could use temporarily for that day? Do you have another place you can go to carry on working if it's just internet connectivity? Now, in our circumstance, we can make calls from a mobile using software or our laptop using software. So that's one way to get around the issue. If you need to print, try and save your print jobs, and when the power's back on, those print jobs will come out. If you need to do something before the power cut, do it ASAP. And if you're fortunate and you've got a generator, if you've got a UPS, universal power supply, great. Utilize them. There is a certain amount of time these will keep providing power to your devices, but just bear in mind that there are things that need to safely shut down as well, so plan for them to safely shut down. So if you've got any questions on any of the points below, feel free to let us know. Likewise, a question that might arise: is it just electricity or is it gas as well? Currently, the answer to the question is it's just electricity. However, do stay in touch with government related news, and if you check out the link in the description to the government document, it may have further information to say we have to ration gas, but at this stage, electricity is what we are looking at rationing, so be prepared to follow this information. If you have any questions, do drop a message below. Thanks for watching and have a great day. So you would have seen the middle section of this video that explained when power cuts could happen, what time, what day of the week, and what the rotation system is, covering levels 1 to 18. Now, this document could be interpreted two ways. So for those of you that say straight away, we've got this completely wrong, you have to bear in mind that unless there's a government video that's currently on this topic, then we have to go through the information and interpret it the best way possible. But we're not going to admit we're perfect. What we are going to admit is we've attempted to find out what's going on and how to come across the issues and get through them. So, for example, when we saw scenarios 1 to 18, that could have been week 1 to 18, and then after 18 you go back to week 1. So depending on how severe the issue needs to be. However, if it's just that you've got scenario number 1, power cut, and that's going to happen every single week, Tuesday power cut this time, Thursday power cut this time, Saturday, no power cut, etc., etc. But you need to know how it could happen in various different cases so that you can plan for both scenarios. Because if you plan for one scenario and it's the other one, then you didn't have a backup plan and you're going to be stuck like if you didn't have a plan at all. So it's good to have a backup plan in place. So regardless of which scenario we may have got right and which one we've got wrong, hopefully one of them we've got right. Otherwise, this is going to make this video completely useless, I'll be honest with you. And we can expect a number of negative comments below. But if there are a lot of negative comments below and they haven't got up to this point of the video, then they've also missed points that we've covered. We haven't spent half an hour making this video for nothing. It's there not just for our benefit, but it's there to help you guys as well. So what I want to add finally is, just like public transport, look after those people in more need. If we can reduce our electricity usage, then we could help others that need more of this demand, and thus we could even reduce the chances of having power cuts in the first place, which is great for us all. Having children, for example, they all want to be online. They want to be playing with their friends on dark winter nights. They do not want to be in a power cut on a dark winter night, I'll be honest with you. 9 o'clock at night, go to bed is great, one day, but what about 6 o'clock in the evening? Remember what it's like being a child. You don't want to be in that scenario. But likewise, just like public transport and giving your seat to somebody else who needs it more, just think other people do need the electricity right now, so let's try and do what we can. Even if that means just inviting your neighbour around, or a friend around who doesn't have power during a 3-hour slot, and letting them stay at yours for that evening, just so that they can be entertained and watch TV. And vice versa, you can do the same. So let's make the most of this scenario. If it happens, let's make it a win-win scenario for everyone, because you don't want to be with no power cut and no power in your house, and then they don't have power in their house. Let's give us all back 3 hours each and pass the time together. So it's sometimes nice not having technology running, but I know the next generation want it even more than our generation. So on that note, we will end the video here. If you found the video useful, please give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe so that we can create more useful content. And please even share this with others who don't know about how these power cuts will happen, or if they happen, and what to look out for. Thanks for watching and have a great day.